The arena was not called a forest, though it had trees. It was not called a battlefield, though thousands had died inside it. Officially, the Galactic Coalition named it the Apex Trial, a controlled survival evaluation designed by a dead civilization, whose ruins still floated beyond the Orion Veil. Unofficially, every soldier, mercenary, warlord, and glory-hungry prince in known space called it something simpler, the mouth, because once the mouth opened, it swallowed everything. Dashiell Sortheta stood behind the reinforced observation glass, his silver eyes reflecting the vast holographic map below. The trial zone stretched across 70 artificial kilometers. Black jungle, glass deserts, gravity-broken ravines, boiling marshland, and a mountain range that shifted position every 6 hours. Somewhere inside that nightmare were 3 signal beacons. Retrieve all 3. Reach extraction. Survive. That was the whole test. No one had ever completed it. Another group? Asked Archivist Neem, her voice dry with amusement. Sortheta folded all 4 of his arms behind his back. Apparently courage remains the galaxy's most renewable resource. Below, the contestants waited in separate preparation bays. There was Kral of the Iron Brood, a 9-foot reptilian shock trooper, whose species hatched in volcanic trenches and considered pain a form of education. There was Veyra Tal, a glass-skinned assassin from the Lurian moons, wrapped in adaptive armor that bent light around her body. There was Prince Orenvel, heir to a warrior empire, carrying enough ceremonial weapons to arm a small rebellion. And then there was the human. Sortheta almost sighed. Captain Leena Arora. Neem read from the file. Earth Defense Survival Instructor, former reconnaissance operative, 37 years old. No cybernetic enhancement, no genetic upgrades, no implanted tactical suite. She brought a backpack, Sortheta said flatly. Neem zoomed the camera. The human woman was kneeling on the floor of her bay, sorting her equipment with calm hands. A coil of rope, a compact water filter, a knife, a dull gray poncho, 3 metal tins, a small pouch of crushed leaves and dried resin. That cannot be all, Nimi whispered. It is. Kral's bay opened beside hers. The reptilian warrior looked at Leena's equipment, then threw his huge head back and laughed. Human, he growled through the divider. Did you arrive for a picnic? Leena looked up and smiled. No, picnics usually have better food. Kral blinked, unsure whether he had been insulted. Veyra Tal's voice slid from the next chamber like a blade. You understand the arena contains predators engineered to defeat energy weapons, stealth systems, aerial attacks, and armored formations. Good to know, Leena said, tightening the strap on her boot. Prince Orun turned toward her with open contempt. Your species is young. You have not had time to evolve greatness. Leena stood, rolled her shoulders, and checked the edge of her knife. Greatness is overrated, she said. Useful keeps you alive. In the observation deck, Neem's tendrils curled in curiosity. She is not afraid. Sortheta studied the human's pulse readings. Calm, steady, controlled. No, he murmured. She is remembering. The launch sirens began. A cold mechanical voice filled the facility. Contestants will enter the Apex trial in 30 seconds. All wounds are real. All deaths are final. Extraction is available only after recovery of 3 signal beacons. Retreat is not permitted. Kral slammed one massive fist against his chest plate. Veyra vanished beneath her cloaking field. Prince Orun kissed the blade of his ancestral spear. Leena Arora closed her eyes. For one brief moment, she was not in an alien facility. She was 8 years old again, standing in monsoon rain beside her grandmother in the western Ghats of Earth. The jungle had been loud around them, alive with insects, frogs, birds, wind, and hidden movement. Her grandmother had pressed mud into Leena's palm and said, "The forest does not hate you. It simply does not care. Learn its language, and it may let you pass." The launch floor opened. The contestants fell. Leena hit the ground hard enough to knock air from her lungs. She rolled, absorbed the impact, and came up beneath a canopy of black leaves wider than shuttle wings. The air was wet and heavy. Every breath tasted metallic, like rainwater running over old machinery. Huge vines hung from the trees, pulsing faintly with blue light. Something screamed far away. Something else answered. Leena did not move. That was the first rule. In unknown terrain, impatience killed faster than teeth. She listened. The jungle was speaking. Leaves clicked against each other in a rhythm too regular to be wind. Insects buzzed, then went silent in waves. Somewhere to her left, water trickled downhill. Somewhere to her right, branches bent under a heavy body moving carefully. Predator, she thought, not charging. Watching, Leena slowly lowered herself into a crouch and picked up a handful of soil. Dark, warm, full of fungal threads. She smelled it. Bitter, acidic, rich with decay. Okay, she whispered. Let's be polite. She did not draw her weapon. In the observation room, Sortheka frowned. Why is she not moving toward the first beacon? Perhaps she is disoriented, Neem said. Leena removed one of the metal tins from her pack. Inside was powdered charcoal, salt, and dried plant fiber. She mixed it with local mud, crushed resin from a nearby vine, and a few drops of water from her canteen. Then she rubbed the paste over her arms, neck, face, boots, and pack. Neem leaned closer to the glass. What is she doing, contaminating herself? Sore theta said. The computer analyzed the mixture. Results appeared across the screen. Thermal diffusion increased. Body odor suppressed. Skin reflection reduced. Local microbial signature partially simulated. Neem's eyes widened. She is making herself smell like the ground. Before Sore Theta could answer, Kral's camera feed flashed red. The reptilian warrior had landed in the ravine zone. He was already charging toward the nearest beacon, plasma axe blazing, roaring his bloodline into the artificial sky. The jungle answered with silence. Then the ravine wall opened, not collapsed. A predator unfolded from the stone. All hooks and bone plates, a creature designed to look like geology until prey came close enough. Kral swung his axe. The first strike shattered against the thing's hide. The second strike never landed. The feed cut after 8 seconds. In the preparation bay, Kral had promised to defeat the arena. The arena had not noticed. Leena heard the distant roar stop. She paused, one hand resting on a tree root. First lesson, she murmured. Don't announce yourself to things bigger than you. She moved toward the water, not directly, never directly. She walked in curves, placing her feet where fallen leaves already lay crushed. When insects went silent ahead, she stopped and waited. When the silence moved away, she followed. Twice she changed direction because the smell of rot sharpened too quickly. Once she froze for nearly 15 minutes while a vine lowered itself from the canopy and tasted the air where her head had been. At the stream, she did not kneel immediately. She watched the banks first. Predators loved water. On Earth, tigers knew it. Crocodiles knew it. Even mosquitoes knew it. The stream ran clear over stones that glowed faintly green. Beside it, 3 small animals drank with twitching noses. Leena watched them. One drank and lived. Another stepped too far into the current. Something thin and transparent shot from beneath the water, wrapped around it, and pulled it under without a splash. Leena backed away. Noted. She used her filter tube from a shallow puddle caught inside a broad leaf instead. That was when she saw the eyes. Across the stream, half hidden beneath hanging roots, a creature watched her. It was enormous, 6 limbs, low body, armor like wet obsidian, a head shaped like a wolf skull stretched over a crocodile jaw. Along its shoulders were raised vents glowing with internal heat, not natural fire, biological plasma. Its eyes were the worst part, not hungry. Intelligent, Leena knew that look. She had seen it in elephants guarding calves, wolves testing weakness, and old soldiers deciding whether someone was dangerous. She slowly sat down. The predator's vents brightened. Leena kept her hands visible. "Hi," she said softly. "I'm not here for your water." The creature did not move. "I know," she continued. "You have no reason to trust me." Strange smell, strange shape, probably annoying voice. Its head tilted in the observation room, Neem whispered. "Is she communicating with it?" "No," Sore Theta said. "She is delaying death." But the predator did not fire. Leena reached into her pouch and removed a strip of dried ration meat. She sniffed it and grimaced. "Honestly, this might offend both of us." She placed it on a rock, then pushed it gently away from herself. Not toward the predator. That would be a challenge. Just away. Then she lowered her gaze, not submissive, non-threatening. There was a difference. "I'm passing through," she said. "You keep your stream. I keep my bones. Good deal." The predator stepped forward. The ground trembled under its weight. Leena's heartbeat rose, but her breathing stayed slow. Fear was allowed. Panic was not. The creature sniffed the ration. Its upper lip curled. "Yeah," Leena said. "I agree." For one impossible second, the beast looked almost insulted. Then it turned away and melted back into the roots. Sore Theta stared at the feed. Neem's voice became very small. "The Ravener chose not to kill her." "That species does not choose," Sore Theta said. "Apparently," Neema replied. "It does now." Leena waited 5 full minutes before moving. Respect mattered. If a predator allowed you to leave, you left slowly. The first beacon was located inside a structure called the Thorn Cathedral, a living tower of interwoven trees and bone-white mineral growth. Previous contestants had approached it like a fortress. They had burned openings through the walls, triggered the defense organisms inside, and died screaming in corridors that digested armor. Leena approached it like a beehive. From a distance, with patience, she climbed a low ridge and watched. The cathedral breathed. Its outer walls expanded and contracted every 4 minutes. Small winged creatures entered through vents near the top and exited through slits at the base. Large guardians patrolled only the obvious entrances. Not a fortress, Leena said. A lung. She studied the airflow by releasing a pinch of dust. The dust drifted toward one of the lower slits. Inhale cycle, she waited. 4 minutes later, the dust blew outward. Exhale cycle, Leena smiled. There you are. She wrapped her rope around a root, coated herself again in mud paste, and crawled toward the slit during the exhale. When the cathedral was pushing air and scent outward, the guardians ignored her. Their senses were tuned for heat, metal, and aggressive movement. Leena was cold mud and patience. Inside, the cathedral was warm and dim. Veins of gold light pulsed beneath translucent walls. The air moved through tunnels in slow breaths. She followed the exhale currents deeper, stopping whenever the walls tightened. At the center hung the first beacon. It was not a trophy. It was a seed, a crystal seed suspended inside a cage of living thorns. Leena did not cut the cage. She looked for what fed it. At the base, tiny rootlets carried mineral water into the thorn structure. She took a drop of clean water from her canteen and placed it on the driest root. The thorns loosened, not much enough. She slipped the beacon free, wrapped it in cloth, and whispered, "Thank you." The cathedral did not attack her on the way out. When she emerged, the observation room was silent. Neem replayed the footage. She fed the defense system. She bribed a plant, Sorthita said. She understood a system. Nimi corrected. By then, Prince Orenvel was dead. His final transmission showed him standing atop a glass dune, declaring that royal blood would not bow to fear. Then the dune beneath him shattered into a swarm of mirror insects. His weapons killed thousands, there were millions. His signal vanished beneath silver wings. Leena saw the glittering cloud in the distance and changed direction before it noticed her. Royal blood, she said, still leaks. The second beacon lay in the marsh. This was where Vera Tall should have had the advantage. Her cloaking technology made her nearly invisible. Her species could move over soft ground without leaving prints. Her blades could cut molecular bonds. For 2 hours, she performed beautifully. Then the marsh began copying her. At first, her sensors showed 1 cloaked figure, then 2, then 7. The marsh predators did not see light. They saw pressure, rhythm, and intention. Vera's stealth field hid her body but not her hunting pattern. She moved like a killer, and the marsh recognized a rival predator. Her last mistake was striking first. The water rose around her in the shape of hands. Leena found the aftermath an hour later. Broken reeds, sliced vines, and 1 piece of Lurian armor dissolving in black water. She crouched at the marsh edge. "Sorry," she said quietly, then she removed her boots. The mud was warm between her toes. Disgusting, yes. Youthful, also yes. Boots made human patterns. Bare feet learned faster. She tied her boots to her pack and stepped into the marsh with a long branch in hand. Every step was tested before weight followed. When the mud trembled, she stopped. When bubbles formed in a line, she moved away. When the reeds leaned against the wind, she lowered herself flat and waited as something huge passed beneath the surface. Horrors crawled by. The marsh tried to trick her with dry islands that pulsed like tongues, flowers that released sleeping gas, and patches of water reflecting stars that were not in the sky. Leena did not hurry. The second beacon rested on the back of a creature so large she first mistook it for land. A living island. Trees grew from its shell. Birds nested in its moss. Pools collected in the ridges of its back. Every few minutes, the entire island shifted as the creature filtered nutrients from the swamp. The beacon glowed in a hollow near the center of its shell. Leena watched the creature for 6 hours. It had parasites. Small crab-like organisms crawled around its breathing vents. Whenever too many gathered, the island beast twitched violently, sending waves across the marsh. Leena looked at the beacon, then at the parasites, then back at the beacon. "Fair trade?" she asked. She climbed onto the shell during the creature's slowest breathing cycle. Instead of running for the beacon, she went to the nearest vent and began removing parasites with her knife. One by one, carefully, the island beast rumbled. Leena froze. The rumble deepened, but it was not anger, more like relief. She cleared 3 vents before moving toward the hollow. The beacon's glow brightened as her hand neared it. The shell beneath her feet warmed. "Payment for services," she said. The creature did not stop her. When she climbed down, the island beast sank slightly into the water, peaceful and immense. In the observation deck, Sor Theta lowered himself into his chair. His voice had lost its certainty. All previous contestants treated the marsh entity as terrain or enemy, and the human treated it as a patient, Nimi said. Leena secured the second beacon. Only one remained. The final beacon waited in the broken valley, where gravity behaved like a drunk god. Rocks floated upward. Rain fell sideways. Shadows moved before their owners. The predators there were not fully visible because they did not live entirely in normal space. Contestants who entered with targeting systems found their weapons locking onto things that had been gone for several seconds or had not arrived yet. Leena reached the valley at artificial dusk. She ate half a ration bar, drank carefully, and checked her rope. She was exhausted. Her shoulders ached, her hands were cut, her mouth tasted of swamp gas and old fear. For the first time, she allowed herself to whisper the truth. "This is bad." Then she laughed once. Okay, bad is information. She anchored rope between stones, not trusting any single direction to remain down. She threw pebbles ahead and watched how they fell. Some dropped, some curved, some vanished and returned cracked with frost. The valley had patterns, not simple ones, but patterns all the same. Leena marked safe intervals by counting heartbeats. 7 beats normal gravity, 3 beats sideways pull, 11 beats upward drift. Then a pause. The predators appeared during the pauses, not as bodies, as wrongness. A patch of air too still, a shadow with no object, a reflection in a stone that showed teeth. Leena did not attack them. She used the oldest trick Earth ever taught prey. She became inconvenient, not dangerous. Not helpless, inconvenient. She moved near thorn growths that reacted to vibration. She crossed open ground only when gravity shifted unpredictably. She dragged a strip of ration cloth behind her to create false scent trails, then abandoned them near unstable rock pockets. One predator followed the cloth. The rocks folded inward and crushed empty air. Something screamed from a direction Leena's ears could not understand. "Sorry," she said, and meant it only a little. The final beacon stood inside a ring of floating stones at the valley center. Each stone rotated around it in a different gravitational field. Reaching in at the wrong time would remove an arm. Leena sat down outside the ring. For 20 minutes, she watched. The stones were not random. They moved like branches in wind, like tides, like flocks turning together. She remembered her grandmother again. The forest does not care. Learn its language. Leena waited for the moment when all stones opened outward, not because they stopped, but because their motion briefly agreed. She reached in, her fingers closed around the third beacon. The valley roared. Every predator in the broken valley turned toward her. "Oh," Leena said, "now I'm interesting." She ran, not fast. Fast would kill her. She ran correctly. She used sideways gravity to launch across gaps. She used upward gravity to climb falling rocks. She cut her own rope twice and retied it mid-slide. Behind her, invisible things tore through stone, screamed through empty air, and snapped at the heat of her footprints. At the final ridge, gravity reversed completely. Leena fell upward into the sky. She twisted, fired her rope hook into a black tree root, and slammed into the cliff face hard enough to crack a rib. Pain flashed white. She held on. Below her, the valley predators gathered like shadows boiling. Above her, the extraction point glowed on the ridge. Leena climbed hand over hand, breath by breath. When she rolled over the edge, the extraction beam activated. The apex trial released her. In the medical bay, emergency crews rushed forward expecting a dying body. Instead, they found a mud-covered human woman clutching 3 crystal seeds and laughing weakly at the ceiling. "Please tell me," she said. "There's a shower." Marshal Sor Theta entered moments later. For the first time in his career, he did not know what to say. Leena placed the 3 beacons on the table. Neem stood behind him, staring as if witnessing a religious event. Sor Theta finally spoke. "You defeated the apex trial." Leena shook her head. "No." The marshal's silver eyes narrowed. "You retrieved all 3 beacons. Yes, you survived every zone, barely. You passed a test no species has ever passed." Leena leaned against the table, exhausted but steady. "I didn't defeat it," she said. "That's why I survived." Nemi's tendrils stilled. Leena pointed toward the arena map. "You built your trial around the wrong assumption. Everyone thought it was asking, can you dominate the most dangerous environment in the galaxy? But that was never the question." Sorthika's voice was quiet. "Then, what was the question?" Leena picked up 1 crystal seed. It was asking, can you enter a world that does not belong to you and survive without declaring war on it? No one spoke. Leena continued. Kral fought the ravine, so the ravine ate him. Oran challenged the desert, so the desert answered. Vera hunted the marsh, so the marsh hunted back. They weren't stupid. They were trained for conquest. And you, Nee asked. I was trained by Earth. Sortheta looked at her as if the word had changed meaning. Leena smiled faintly. My planet is beautiful, but it's not gentle. We evolved among storms, parasites, predators, poisonous plants, diseases, droughts, oceans, mountains, forests, and things with teeth in the dark. Humans didn't survive because we were the strongest. We survived because we learned, we watched, we copied, we adapted, we made tools, yes. But before tools we had attention. She set the beacon down. Your ancient architects weren't looking for warriors. They were looking for guests. The words settled over the observation deck like thunder. Sor Theta turned slowly toward the arena map. For 300 cycles, the coalition had sent champions into the apex trial. Soldiers, assassins, princes, war machines. Every one of them had tried to prove they were the deadliest thing inside, and every one of them had been corrected. The human had entered as the weakest contestant. No armor, no advanced weapon, no royal blood, no biological plasma, stealth skin or cybernetic reflexes. Only mud, rope, patience, and the strange earthborn wisdom that survival did not always mean winning. Sometimes survival meant listening. Sometimes it meant stepping softly. Sometimes it meant offering water to a thorn cage, cleaning parasites from a living island, and apologizing to monsters before tricking them into rocks. Neem looked at Leena with something close to awe. "What will you do now, Captain Arora?" Leena rubbed her bruised ribs and glanced toward the medical shower. "First, get clean, and after that," she looked back at the arena. A tired smile crossed her face. "After that, I'm going to rewrite your survival manual. Because whoever trained your people to enter jungles with plasma cannons has been trying to get you killed." For the first time in recorded history, Marshal Sor Theta bowed to a human. Not deeply, but enough. Across the coalition, the news spread faster than light. The apex trial had been passed. Not by the strongest species, not by the oldest empire, not by the deadliest warrior. By a human who understood that the universe was not always an enemy to be conquered. And from that day forward, whenever alien commanders prepared to enter unknown worlds, they were taught the first rule of Earth survival. Before you fight the forest, ask whether the forest even knows you are there.